In this video, I'm going to show you how you can easily add leaderboards to your Godot project. I'll be using a quick example game that I've made, inspired by the MMORPG classic RuneScape. The core gameplay loop is pretty much done and stable, and I just need to add some polish. We've got a few values that we're already tracking: a calculated overall score, experience points earned, ore mined, etc. But right now, these disappear when you close the game. So this is a great stage to add the leader integration, and by the end of the video, scores will submit to a live leaderboard that anyone can view in a browser. We'll start by pulling up the leader docs for the Godot SDK. I've already downloaded and installed the leader app and created an account and a game, but we'll need to create a board. But let's get started by going to the GitHub releases page for the Godot SDK and downloading the zip file of the latest version. I'll save that to the desktop and it's downloaded. The first thing I need to do is unzip that and add it to our project in the add-ons folder. So inside the SDK code, there's the leader folder here. I want to copy that over to GrindScape, which is the name of my project. Make a new folder if you don't already have add-ons, and then paste it in there. And now I can see all the leader code is ready for me in the project. If we go back to Godot now, there we go, we can see the add-ons down in the bottom left corner. And we just need to enable the plugin. So we'll go to project settings, plugins, and LEADR SDK is already listed there. We just need to check on. And then we can close that. The project should automatically enable the auto load for the LEADR SDK, but we can double check. Just go to project settings again. And in globals, we can see leader add-on is enabled, which is fantastic. Now, the first thing we need to do is create our leader settings file. And we can do that by right-clicking on the leader folder in add-ons, create new and resource, search for leader, and select the leader settings resource. I always call this file leader settings, just for clarity. And you can see in the inspector here the 4 settings that we have. The first and most important is the game ID. We can get this from the leader app by going to games, into the game we want, and just pressing 1 to copy the ID that's there, the one with the prefix GAM underscore. Make sure that's in there correctly. The base URL you do not need to change unless you're planning to self-host the open source leader code yourself. We will turn on debug logging just for clarity in this demo, and test mode we will leave unchecked. You can use that to keep testing scores that are submitted separate from your actual player scores in order to not pollute your leaderboards during testing and development. Next, we need to go back to the leader app and actually create our leaderboard. If we select boards here from the left menu, you can see that we haven't got any, so I'm going to press N to create a new one. I'm going to keep this really simple. I'm just going to make our first high scores board, which we will send the calculated overall score value to. And I'll leave slug empty because that will auto-generate based on the name. Description, for this I will also leave empty, but you can put in whatever you like there. And then the board type, I'm going to change this to per run, which is essentially arcade mode. You can replay the game again and again and again, and every score that gets submitted will be added to that same leaderboard, as opposed to some of the other per player, counter, or ratio board types that are a bit more complex and have different keep strategies and calculations for different types of leaderboards. Those are all detailed in the documentation for Leader, and I can make more videos in future on how those work. But for today, per run board type, default settings. And the only thing we need to make sure we do is make sure it published is checked. So it says yes, and that will make the live web page show up when scores are submitted to it. And with that, we can hit create board, and our board shows up there. Before we go back to the code, we just go into that board and we want to copy our board ID. Again, just like with the game, we can press 1 and that is automatically copied to our clipboard. I've just pasted that off the side in my notepad because we are about to use it in a second. So now we're ready to wire up submitting a score to the Leader API. To do that, we'll open our script code. I do that in Visual Studio, and I need the game GD script file, which is where I manage centrally all of my signal connections and major game event handling, things like that. And I've got this onPlayerDied function here, where currently it just pauses the game and shows the game over screen. Before any of that happens, this is where we'll add our asynchronous request using the Leader SDK to send our score data to the Leader API. You can do this as one line, but I'm going to add a couple of extras just for clarity in order to capture the variables we want to use. So first up, we need our board ID that we copied before. That's a string. Just grab that from my notes and paste it in there. Next up, we want to get the score that we're actually sending. And I've got a stats script that has an object containing all of my handy stat incrementing functions and getting them as well. I think the one I'm looking for is just get score. We've got a getter for most things. Get score, there it is. And then lastly, we need the display name of the player that we want to associate with that score, how it shows up in the leaderboard. And for this, I'm going to use my stats object again and get the player display name property. So just for convenience, those are there for us to use in our leader submit score command, which looks like this. Define a result variable so that we can look at the result if we want to or handle errors. But for us, we're just going to use the leader instance there and call submit score. And we want to give that, as per the doc string here, the board ID, the score value, and the player name that we defined above. And there are also two optional values for the value display variant, which is a string version of your score value, so you can control the output or display more accurately, and then a metadata dictionary if you want to store some JSON data alongside the score itself. But for us, we're just going to put in that board ID, our score value, and the display name. And can't forget, that's an asynchronous request, so it needs to be awaited. And being asynchronous means it doesn't block the rest of your code. We save that file. And now if I go back to the Godot editor and run the game, I will quickly just start a game and then die, and we should see that score submitted to the Leader API. I died. If we close that and come back to our debug logs, which might be a bit small, but we can see here a bunch of leader requests being made and our score being submitted. If we go back to the leader app and go into our game and then into the boards, the board we created earlier, we can actually go to scores and press T to toggle from test to production mode. And we can see the score we submitted, plus one I submitted earlier, is there. And now that means if we come back to the board page and get the URL for that board by pressing 5 here and open that in a web browser, we see our leaderboard with the scores submitted, all there as expected. I'll do another run quickly and then come back here just to show you it keeps updating. And there you have it. You've created a board, installed the LEADR SDK, added one function call, and now you've got a live leaderboard. You can find next steps and more advanced features in the leader documentation that I'll link down in the description. Things like paginating your results, around me queries, advanced board setups for weekly challenges or seasons, ratio boards, and much more. Let me know in the comments if you'd like some follow-up videos showing any of those too.